You know, I've had a lot of people question the obvious thing of if you're going to buy physical media, why should you buy DVDs? If Blu-rays and 4Ks exist, why bother with a DVD player anymore? Why bother with just DVDs and how basic they are and how arguably primitive they are? And I thought to myself the other day, why do they still exist? Like, I know it's the obvious consumer market, more people buy DVDs majority of the time over Blu-rays, which is fine, like, that makes a lot of sense, but what if there wasn't that market anymore? Like, I get it, they're both digital discs, it's all files on a round thingy, you put it in a slot and it plays stuff magically. It's insane. But what if you just kind of removed it from the market altogether? Like, think about VHS. I know that VHS was beaten out by DVDs, but did it really die that quickly? Like, I was alive when it happened, but, like, I was really young, so wasn't really a thing, like, DVDs were around when I was a kid. I still have VHS a lot of the time, but it's like, it never became a thing of, oh, I want to watch the DVD of this movie instead of the VHS. I don't want to know any fucking different. I wasn't a person purchasing it or renting it, but for the people, obviously, who are much older than me, who were fully developed in their cerebral cortex, or whatever the fuck they call it, what the fuck happened? Why the hell a VHS... Why were they just killed off completely? Like, I think maybe because of the format wars, it was such a thing of it was either this or that, and because a lot more people were buying and producing DVDs, that no one was buying VHS, and people were probably still buying it, but they weren't really producing them anymore. When you got something as simple and easy as a DVD, why would you need a VHS? In terms of format, they're so different. I understand the fundamental basics of what makes them both so fucking different. And it honestly makes a lot of sense that DVD strived and won. But then you get the Blu-rays, and that comes to the second question. If Blu-rays became such a thing, especially by 2010, when they were basically invented, and then became a mass market thing within the next 2 to 3 years, by both being on stuff like the PlayStation and whatever, like being able to be playable very easy through game consoles and through players, why haven't, like, companies decided no more to DVDs? I mean, I think the answer is pretty obvious. It's just a money thing. If people are still buying DVDs and they're really cheap to make and produce, then why bother removing them completely and spending more on making Blu-rays when you can just make both, or make one or the other? It seems to be a pretty simple thing of that. Like, if we had a more, I'd say, perfect world where DVDs existed and then Blu-rays came out and everyone's like, hey, this is just better. Let's just do this instead. Like with DVDs over VHS, even though that was such a contrast. This isn't that much of a contrast. I know it's a very slim line. It's just a bit more quality, but it's the exact same principle of a disc and everything. What if they just remove DVDs from the market? They're like, hey, these Blu-rays are taken off. They're clearly better. We can make them better. We can produce them better. It's a bit more expensive, but wouldn't that be more expensive than a VHS or a DVD? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe yes. I'd argue maybe not. Maybe DVDs were cheaper. Probably not initially, but then I imagine when you mass produce them, it's like, actually, it's much easier to make a DVD than make a VHS. There's so many moving parts. Whereas a DVD, you just get a blank disc, chuck all the files on, encode it properly, and put on a little disc artwork. Bada boom. Sell on a plastic case. It's pretty goddamn simple. Like, it's, again, basically the exact same thing as a VHS, but just slimmer and easier to use. And I think by that stage, CDs existed, so a lot of people were able to kind of make the jump a lot easier, because it's like, well, I know how CDs work, so of course I know how DVDs work. Just put it in the drive, bam, it shows up on the TV. I think a lot of people, consumers-wise, have that issue with Blu-ray where they don't realize that DVDs can play on Blu-ray players, but then they're like, oh, I've bought a Blu-ray, but it won't play. It's because you're using a DVD player. I'm not going to make this argument with 4K, because 4K is a lot more of a leap, both in terms of price and cost to make. Costs more to make, costs more to purchase. It's as simple as that. I don't really think that Blu-ray should be erased. Like, if I was going to be that level of everything needs to be completely erased so the new best thing can be the only thing on the market, I'm like, no. I like there being Blu-rays still. Blu-rays are fine. 4Ks are great as well, Obviously, if it's a film, sometimes, most of the time, I would prefer a 4K over a Blu-ray, but it really depends on the product itself. But then DVDs, it's like, you don't need them. They're longer cases, they're less format space, there's less to them, Like, I still see people now who are on a Facebook page I'm on that are just buying DVDs, and I'm like, why? There are Blu-ray and 4K packs. You don't, like, even if you buy the 4K of the film, that's like $5 or $10 more than the Blu-ray, but you're almost future-proofing yourself because, hey, this 4K disc pack comes with the Blu-ray disc as well. See, those are the best ones when they come with both. But it's just, yeah, it's like some of the Blu-ray packs still come with DVDs. I know that a lot of when you were doing transitions between 2010 to 2015, that was still a thing. And that's perfectly fine. Like, if it's a cheap and easy alternative to also include in the pack, I'm not against that, but it's also like, that should have been the stepping stone. You have DVDs, then Blu-rays come out. Okay, well, we'll do a combo pack. We'll do both so people can have the option. Like as if completely limit the market. Be like, you can only buy a Blu-ray DVD combo pack, so it forces people to buy Blu-ray players. And then eventually, you get rid of Blu-ray, DVD combo packs altogether, so there are no more DVDs, and everyone's, by this stage, mostly market price, mostly market share, whatever. The majority of the market would have taken over the whole, well, we're all buying Blu-rays now, we've all got Blu-ray players, majority of us do anyway, so then you just kind of like rank that up a bit, bam. You don't need DVDs anymore, get rid of those, now we've got the higher quality stuff with Blu-rays. Maybe you're re-releasing films on Blu-ray with remasters, maybe then you get 4K UHD, and then you make combo packs of those too. Not to remove Blu-rays, but just to kind of keep it there, but make it easier for people if they want to get the 4K as well. Like, I imagined initially this, like, well, if they made that instead, then Blu-rays could be alternatively a lot cheaper, same as 4Ks. At least for consumers to buy, because then there's no DVD market, so there's no competition there. You can make Blu-rays cheaper naturally and make 4Ks cheaper naturally, but they've obviously got to still have that extra up in terms of price. But I think it is just that thing of, because Blu-rays and 4Ks cost more to produce compared to DVDs, that probably wouldn't have sufficed as much anyway. Like, the average Blu-ray in Australia is like $20 to $30. Of course, Australian dollars. The average 4K is like $35 to $40, which is still a lot. Some of the 30 to 35 ones are either really old films like Giant or Vacation, the National Lampoons, that probably don't have a 4K, a Blu-ray disc, but sometimes do. And even if they do, that Blu-ray disc is an old Blu-ray disc that hasn't been remastered but has all the old special features. And so sometimes they can do that. I've seen some 4Ks in Australia naturally be as low as $27. I think Giant was one of those, but it was like $27 naturally because it's an older film, but because it's also by itself, it's just the 4K disc. So, like, obviously retail pricing is going to be different. If it's something that's amazingly new, that's still a basic standard 4K Blu-ray bundle like Barbie or Oppenheimer, they're still going to be $40. Or, I think Oppenheimer was $40, but it came with the extra Blu-ray disc for special features, whereas Barbie was like $37, but then but that was only a 4K. That was $37 for just a 4K disc. But if you got the Steelbook release, which is a whole obviously different market, that was $2 extra. So that becomes $40 rather than $38, and you get a Blu-ray disc. There's no disadvantage to that. There's no real bonus as well. Like, you get better packaging, maybe nicer artwork, depending on which one you prefer, and you get an extra disc, but the extra disc comes with exactly the same thing that the 4K has. There's no actual distinguishable difference between the two unless you only have a Blu-ray player and you're like, I still like the Steelbook and I want a future-proof. I'll just get that. Because they're now doing Blu-ray 4K releases that are just one or the other. Like John Wick and Barbie and a bunch of other films that have come out this year have just been, here's the 4K, separate release from here's the Blu-ray. My only concern for those is if the special features are like if there's exclusive stuff on the Blu-ray disc that isn't on the 4K disc, then it's like, why not combine the two? But I guess most of the time they have combined the two because of the exclusive stuff. Because that would be really annoying if they were like, oh, you can only buy this version, the 4K, for the better picture and quality, but you got to get the Blu-ray separately so you can get all the special features, like the commentary or whatever. I don't know, it depends. But still, it's a weird thing. Like, I can understand that it's probably just a money thing. Like, DVDs are cheaper. They've been a more safe bet for the past 20-odd years because, of course, a lot of the time, movie companies would make the movie. If they didn't perform well enough at the box office or they got a certain amount that was, like, good enough, mass-produce the DVDs, and the DVDs getting the exact same amount. That's what used to happen, where DVDs, when they initially came out, would get the, like, I can't remember what film it was, but there was a film that had come out in, like, the early to mid-2000s that on DVD had got, like, in cinema release, it had gotten, like, $130 million box office, which was, like, pretty good for it. It was, like, a $20-30 million film. Good. People liked it, well-regarded, whatever. Comes out on DVD, gets the exact same amount of money because of DVD sales. Of course, stuff like that dropped off because of streaming, which is then the extra thing you got to tackle. If streaming exists, and that's higher quality than a DVD, why would you have a DVD? I mean, DVDs still come with special features and stuff. You have that different audio tracks. You got a bunch of still different things that you don't really have on streaming for most point. But it is a weirder thing. Why don't they have that? It's probably still a licensing thing as well. There's so many things to consider that I'm just thinking of. Isn't there a licensing thing where it's like they're under two different like licensing contracts? I feel like there would be. You know, like this film has only a DVD release because they didn't have the license for the Blu-ray, or it was just usually just cheaper to produce on a DVD. There are movies that came out this year that are only getting DVD releases. Like in Australia, Past Lives is only getting the DVD release. It's not getting the Blu-ray release. And it's like, why? You know, the amount of films I have to import from the US because they have Blu-ray releases, because they don't have that in Australia, is ridiculous. A lot of them are more like either A24 or like art house kind of smaller, cheaper, low-budget films, but still do pretty goddamn well at the box office. You know, at least maybe the US box office, but like, you know, the center of the world, as they say. But yeah, it's just, I don't know. I feel like it's just a confusing thing to me at times, especially when you have tech being so advanced to get Blu-rays, and I would naturally think, if this person's buying a DVD, why are they doing that? But at the same time, it's just because it's cheaper. A lot of people don't give a shit for quality. They don't care most of the time, hence why they use streaming. Like, it's, I mean, all the obvious answers are there. VHS got rid of in marketing because, and in sales, because DVDs were the better option. They will have more longevity, they were a smarter device, they were easier to use. You don't have to rewind it after you've used it, you know? Much easier stuff. And you could get better picture, better sound quality, all that kind of jazz. And then you get to the stage where it's like, yeah, Blu-rays do exist, but they're more expensive, and over time they get cheaper, but so do DVDs. And I could buy this film for $5 on DVD, but I could buy it for $10 on Blu-ray. It's like, well, that's double the price. And I get like the same stuff on the DVD, but in lower quality. But does it matter? Because maybe I'm not a person who likes quality. I know you and I, being probably people who, I imagine if you watch this channel, or if you're just a big physical media person, you're a stickler for Blu-ray and 4K. But the regular folk, people like my parents, if my dad hadn't have bought a HDTV in the early 2010s, which we mostly got because it was a bundle with a Wii, like, how cool is that? A whole home theater system and you get a Wii. You know, when you got 3 kids, it's a perfect deal, you know. We upgraded from a big square box TV and now we get a like plasma screen flat TV, get the whole 5.1 system, Blu-ray player with 3D as well, and a Wii. Like, that's good. That works out pretty well, you know. But that was just because, hey, we didn't go through the global financial crisis in Australia in 2008, so we could afford it, you know? Yeah, how about that, you know? We didn't do badly in this country. I know it's probably different from a lot of other countries, especially the US, but that also kind of maybe encourages that because of financial issues throughout cultures and throughout just different countries, that if the biggest country buying physical media is America and they go through a recession and then everyone's like, shit, we can't really afford Blu-rays, but we can afford DVDs, we just keep buying DVDs and they're cheaper and they only get cheaper as time goes on. They're also more common at like bargain bins or at op shops and stuff that, like, you know, oh, someone's used this and watched it once and they've gotten rid of it because they didn't care for it. And I'm like, imagine spending 15 to 20 bucks on a movie to watch it once to be like, I'm just going to donate it to charity, you know? Like, I've seen a lot of people with that of recent with that movie Strays that came out this year. Yeah, did you remember that there was a dog movie with Will Ferrell in it? I don't, but it had happened. And that movie someone had found at an op shop for like $2 and it was brand new. So it's like, you know, sure, I guess. But yeah, it's just people still buy DVDs. It fascinates me, but it makes a lot of sense. Like, I don't want to. Obviously, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm in a privileged position of buying physical Blu-rays and whatever. It's like, yeah, I'm happy to spend the extra bit to get better quality. That's my shtick, you know? But I understand people who buy DVDs only because it's cheaper. But if the DVDs didn't exist full stop and Blu-rays naturally became cheaper because of it, at least in price, hopefully not in terms of quality, wouldn't you kind of prefer that? Like, if the market wasn't there for DVDs, wouldn't Blu-rays kind of succeed? So, yeah. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on the matter. Like, yeah, if one didn't exist, wouldn't the other do better? But they're not doing that. That's not happening. It's more of a general now. Big companies are just like, remove it all. Fuck them. We have streaming now. We don't need physical media. Instead of them being like, it's a lot cheaper if we just remove DVDs and we reduce the price a little bit by Blu-rays, so then everyone goes to get Blu-rays. But then because of streaming, no one's going to do that. So, yeah. I mean, us physical collectors would love that, but everything keeps going up in prices. And of course, financial global problems and all this kind of shit. So it's just a lot of issues upon issues. But still, it would have been an interesting time. Like, maybe if there wasn't a, global financial crisis in the late 2000s, maybe when Blu-rays came out and DVDs would have slowly gotten rid of within the next 2 years. DVDs not being produced anymore, put into bundle packs so people can still buy them if they want to, but then they can also choose to upgrade. Hey, maybe even this. They make separate Blu-ray and DVD packs. Get rid of the DVDs and make Blu-ray and Blu-ray combo packs. The Blu-ray combo packs are $1 or $2 dearer because you have the extra money that they have to invest to put into a DVD, which then retroactively convinces people to buy Blu-rays because Blu-rays by themselves are cheaper than buying a 2-pack, So then you don't have to buy a 2-pack anymore, and you're naturally just like, hey, it's a lot cheaper if I just buy a Blu-ray. Let me buy a Blu-ray player and then a HD TV, and then, which probably obviously a lot more of an investment, a few $1,000s maybe, and then at least you don't have to be spending the extra $5 every time you want to buy a film, because the only way you can get a DVD is through a combo pack, which eventually will not exist, because then it becomes Blu-ray, and then 4K is the upgrade to that. And they have combo packs of that. Whether or not they eliminate the Blu-ray, I don't really know, but given that Blu-ray and 4K are the exact same goddamn trademark, it's like, it's just a bit bigger of a disc. So, probably not. I don't know. That's just my thoughts on the matter. Let me know your thoughts. Especially the reason of why DVDs just became better. I imagine it's just because of terms of quality and what they could do in contrast to VHS, and how everyone was like, well, we're going to go for DVDs because it's obviously an easier thing to use. They may have been using VHS for 30 years, but let's be honest, that DVD, pretty goddamn easy. So, anyway, that's all. Thanks for watching. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you next time. Bye.